Hi guys, I'm going to be talking to you about the work experience component of your Matwork training with us. So what I'd love for you to do first is just to grab the work experience guide out of your induction pack. That's the document that we're going to be going through together, and also that's the document that you want to refer back to if you find that you've got questions or need to check on any details along with this video as you complete your training with us. So work experience is what covers off your observation and teaching hours and practicing basically the job of being a Pilates instructor. So let's first of all look at your observation hours. You can see according to your guide how many hours in total you're going to need to log throughout the course. And what you're going to do is check out our PFI class timetables, and you're going to look at those timetables and see the different types of classes that we are running week to week, and your guide will tell you how many classes for each type we suggest that you observe. When you look at the timetable, you're able to book in for observation hours anytime that those specific class types are running. So really it's nice and flexible. You can structure your work experience in a schedule that is going to suit your personal circumstances. And to book in for observation, all you need to do is email us at studentbookings@pfiwa.com.au so that we can reserve a place for you. We allow a maximum of 3 students to observe any one class, just to make sure that it's not too overwhelming for the clients and to allow enough space for you to have a good view of the clients doing the class as well. So the observation hours, that's how you're going to book, and we want to make you start those hours as soon as your contact time begins. So during your contact time, we're going to be talking to you about different things that we think you should look for in your observation time. And that way you're not just going to be sitting there waiting for a whole class to fold in front of you. You want to look for particular points, maybe it's the breathing, maybe it's different postures, doing particular movements, to give you some point of reference during that class. So that's your observation time. And now let's talk about your teaching time. The teaching hours is divided into 2 different types. We have co-instruction hours, and we also have full teaching hours, which is you teaching whole programs to a client or a group of clients. The co-instruction is what you're going to begin with first, and that's basically a shadowing situation where you're able to get closer to the action, walking around, helping individuals with their positions, making hands-on adjustments, and also just being under the general direction of the supervising instructor. So with co-instruction, we want you to book in for those hours also by emailing studentbookings@pfiwa.com.au, and we only allow 1 student per class to co-instruct. So we will let you know if that class already is booked out for co-instruction by sending you a confirmation back. When you arrive to the class, just make sure you introduce yourself briefly at the beginning to the instructor that's going to be supervising you, and let them know that you're there for co-instruction and that you'd like to take their direction, and from there they will tell you what to do. Initially, it's just going to be getting closer, seeing the positions up front, having an opportunity to help individual clients as the class is running, and then gradually, as the instructor that you're working with gets to know your skill set, knows how far through the training that you are, you might be able to do more and more during the class, but you'll never be the major instructor in that setting. Always the main instructor will be teaching the exercises to the paying clients. And then alongside co-instruction, you're going to also be doing teaching hours. Teaching hours is you teaching students, family, friends, or other clients who know that you're a student in full 1-hour Matwork programs that you have written and planned yourself. So during the contact time, you're going to learn about our specific system of programming, the PIC system, which allows you to plan really balanced, flowing and appropriate level classes for the clients that you're working with, and how to apply that to different postures. So with the teaching hours, you're going to gather up some bodies. Maybe it's 1 person to start with, and then going towards teaching a small group of people as well. And you're going to plan a class program according to their level of experience with Pilates. We recommend at the beginning perhaps you start with teaching fellow students so that they can anticipate what you're saying and make that whole process just a little bit smoother. But then making sure that you also get practice with teaching members of the public or friends and family who haven't had any experience with Pilates, because they're going to react quite differently to your cues, and they'll also react quite literally to your cues. So you'll be able to see perhaps where there are room for improvement in your teaching. So with the people that are able to be your clients, the students, other PFI instructors, and friends and family are able to be bodies for you. Students and PFI instructors receive those hours with you for free. And then you are also able to nominate a further 3 friends or family that you would like to include as part of your work experience teaching hours. They can do as many sessions with you a week in the studio as you like for free. But beyond those 3 nominated people, there will be a small administration fee for those clients to pay each time they come and be a body for you. There's a few reasons for that. There's an administration and insurance process that we need to go through to make sure that we are following protocol with our work experience hours. But also, it helps for you that they see a value to what you're giving. You certainly have many valuable skills to offer them in terms of really cheap Pilates sessions at a high quality level. And it helps also for those clients to keep accountable to you so that there's less of a reason for them to let you down and cancel, because that consistency with clients is really important for you to be successful in progressing with your course and with your training. You're looking for your bodies that you're including in your work experience teaching hours to be groomed by you to participate eventually in your final Matwork practical assessments. We want to see you teaching people that you have worked with all through the levels of repertoire so that you can really demonstrate by the end of the course that intermediate level teaching and having gotten those people up to that level yourself. And that is going to give you the very best chance of being successful in the training, because that is the natural way that we are teaching people to progress out in the industry. So those are your observation and your teaching hours. If you would like to just practice an exercise, maybe a sequence or 2 with another student, with a friend, with a family member, that is definitely recommended practical experience, but it isn't to be logged as a teaching hour. A teaching hour must only be a 1-hour full Matwork program start to finish, rather than just little snippets of practice. So we recommend that you start your co-instruction and your teaching hours about 3 to 4 weeks after you begin your contact time. It's certainly one of the more daunting aspects of the training, and because of that, we really recommend that you don't leave it too long. It's a common mistake that students make, thinking I'll just focus on the theory first and go into the practical later on, but you just need to break the ice and get it started. Alright, so that's your observation and your teaching. Let's just talk about the conduct in the studio that you need to follow when you're doing those observation and teaching hours. First thing that's really important is that you need to always wear your student uniform. So when you enroll, you will have been provided with your student t-shirt that has a logo identifying you as a student. That's important for many reasons. We want to make sure that first and foremost, the clients feel really comfortable in the space and they know who's observing them during their workouts. And second thing for you, it just makes sure that clients understand that you're not going to have all the answers if they do ask you a question. So you're training, you're learning as you go, you're not meant to know everything, and being identifiable really will take that pressure off you as well. So student t-shirt with the logo able to be observed at all times. Plain leggings or shorts or anything that is appropriate. Shorts for men can be with the skins underneath or something close fitting to the leg underneath. No crop tops, keeping it really comfortable and professional. And also you need to wear closed-in shoes when you're observing and also when you're teaching in the studio environment too. So The closed-in shoes, we often wear sneakers, and you'll see the instructors wearing sneakers. That's great because it can help give you some support and protect your back when you might be observing and teaching for perhaps long blocks of time. So also when you're at the front desk, just making sure that you try and let the clients go ahead of you. Again, we're looking at your conduct in the industry. Learning on the job, and the work experience component really gives you that practice before you're out in the real environment. When you're observing, just make sure that you're sitting on those little wooden stools that are set aside in each of the rooms for students to sit at, and that you're keeping your stuff quite close to you. Definitely no access to your mobile phone or to your any other electronic devices. Not recording the instructor at all. Taking notes. And just sitting quietly and really making sure that you are not intruding on the personal space of the clients, the instructor, or making any noise that could distract anybody. So just really wanting it to be an invisible, watching from the sidelines experience for you. That also includes making sure that you arrive early enough before the class starts so that you're not arriving late and interrupting the flow of the session, and not leaving until when the class is finished along with all the clients. Let's talk about the log sheets and how you're going to actually record these observation and teaching hours. So why don't you go ahead and grab your log sheets from your induction pack. You'll see the observation and teaching sheets have separate titles at the top, and you want to keep those hours separately recorded. With the observations, you'll notice that you have to note the date that you're observing, the studio location you're at, the type of class that you're viewing, whether it's a basic Matwork class or a different level. You're going to see you have to have somebody signing off on those log sheets too. That's going to be the teacher that is teaching that class. And it's really important that you do that then and there at the end of the class or the shift, rather than forgetting about it and trying to catch it up at a later date. So at the end of the class, because the instructor might be running to the next class or ducking to a different studio to start another shift, just make sure that you have your log sheets and your pen right there available for the instructor to sign and run, and that you're all organised with that setup for them. And then the teaching hours for co-instruction, again, you'll notice a really similar setup of the log sheet, and you're just going to have your supervising instructor sign off in much the same way that you did for the observations. And then for the full teaching hours, you're going to have one of your clients sign off the log sheet. Okay, so you're going to indicate again when you completed the teaching hour, what time you arrived, what time you finished, which studio location it was at, and who is signing off. You'll notice on both of those log sheets there's an accumulative total column as well, and that's just to keep a really easy record of yourself. So every time you log an hour, you're going to add it to that accumulative total so that you can see easily how close you are to your minimum hours requirements. All right, the other aspect that we need to talk about is your self-mastery hours. So self-mastery involves you doing your own Pilates practice and feeling the work in your own body. So because you're studying the Matwork certificate, that means that you need to primarily participate in Matwork classes, and your minimum requirement is one group Matwork class per week at PFI for the duration of your training. So there's 6 months allocated to the certificate in Matwork, and if that ends up taking you a little longer, or you've already decided to stretch your enrolment to be a longer course intake, just be aware that that means that you'll have to continue your self-mastery right till the end of the training. One class per week is just the minimum. We definitely recommend more than that to help you really progress in the work and progress in your body. And what we have is a special certificate self-mastery membership just for students, which gives you unlimited group classes for the duration of your training. And that just allows you to have really a lot of flexibility with doing as many classes as you like. And then you can just jump in. Let's say you're getting stiff in the back after observing for a few hours and you just want to jump in and do a workout, then that's available to you. So we will be contacting you about those options at the time of your enrolment anyway, but just in case you didn't know that those were available, that's the cheapest way to cover off your self-mastery requirements for your Matwork training. There is a separate log sheet for your self-mastery hours, and you'll see that that is set up week 1, week 2, week 3, and it just shows Matwork, and you have to just log that minimum 1 hour per week. You might be doing 5 a week, but you just need to log the 1 on your log sheets right up until the end of your training. Okay, so I feel like we're getting close to the end here. We've covered off our obs, we've covered off our teaching, we've talked about who can be a client for you, we've talked about how you can book. If you would like to just book a studio space for a teaching hour or just for some practice, that's completely available to you if the studio is open and the space is not being used by somebody else. And you can do that using our Mind Body online booking system, and the specific instructions for how to